Welcome to Leadership, Love and Laughter, where we dive into the unspoken truths in life and business. I'm Natalie Potts.
And I'm Victoria Dioh.
Let's go!
Oh, hello there, Victoria Dioh and Natalie Potts here. How you doing?
Good, you?
I'm wonderful. How you feeling since the last podcast?
Yeah, I'm good. I
Yeah?
was excited with the first one.
You're
It's a
excited
good
by the first one?
conversation. We bounce off well enough, so I always know it's going to be. There's no pressure. It's just a great conversation that we have.
It is. It is a great conversation. So welcome to Leadership, Love and Laughter. That's what we're all about. We're here for those of you leaders who are looking to grow,
Ooh.
in Pot's case. So if you're looking to grow, and also in my case, if you're looking to fall in love with your life.
Absolutely.
Absolutely. So what's new? What we're talking about today, Potts?
Today we're talking around one of my favourite topics, which is really building relationships with people.
Love that.
And real connection.
Love that.
And linked with a little bit of money.
Yeah.
Because I think there's a bit of the relationship you have with yourself with money as well.
Yeah. That's a good one, actually. Oh, that's a good one. I'm just thinking because when we're looking at the topics, I was like, should we separate it? Should we put it together? And then it's that whole thing of, it's not just about money as in, you know, for example, why people aren't buying from you, but why people aren't buying into you as well.
Yeah.
So, you know, we've all been, say, in a corporate world where maybe you're just not getting the results that you want. Maybe you're not getting the promotions. Maybe you're not getting the following that you desire and stuff and everything else. And it does come down to relationships, either like you say, with yourself and with others.
Yeah. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, I think there's a big bit that it's like one of those things. Well, there are two things actually: relationships and money that we're not educated on, and we don't understand.
I've gone all gospel
Really?
church then.
What they mean to us.
Yeah.
And they're two of the biggest things that F us up
Yeah.
a little bit when we're older, or we get to our 30s and then realise I'm in my 30s, just to share that. So.
Thanks, Potts. Yeah. Thanks for letting us know.
Lots of people think I'm 27 when I go to the gym. But...
All right.
No, I'm joking.
Blimey neck.
But we get to our 30s and
Yes.
40s and we're like, we need help. Like, we need counselling, we need therapy and stuff. And I think that's one of the things I realised in the last episode with yourself was that I can be quite defensive against those forms of working through stuff. Whereas doing the intuitive work and some of the healing work's been different to me, probably because of my perspective on it, my view, and what I think, like counselling therapy mean. My experience of it hasn't been great at times. So I can get quite defensive where intuitively going on with that, it's not the same pressure.
Yeah.
And it's more probably about me in a way than sometimes I think counselling and therapy can just be like I feel it's always like a tick box. You can even see it in my behaviours. I'm like,
no, do you know what? I think though that, again, it's based on the relationship because we've got a good relationship. You are willing to just go, do you know what? Do what you need to do with me and get me better, or do what you need to do with me and give me an insight into where I need to go and stuff. Like, you are very much just do what you need to do.
Yeah.
But I think that's based on a relationship. And the thing is, if you're going to somebody for the first time, you don't have that relationship. So how do you know that you can trust the process, so to speak, and stuff, and just surrender into it, so to speak?
Yeah, I think the theme around trust last time as well, and I guess what the theme I'm saying here around this is that with relationships in business, a lot of it comes down to communication as well.
It's true.
And but again, that's how we communicate with ourselves. Like, what do we want? What do we not want? How do we want to be? How are we as leaders? And I think that I remember you asked me at the end of the episode one before about like what's my first memory of being a leader, etc. And I was like 21, but it was the last few years when I really did the depth on working up the ladder of having to do the personal development side of things. I remember spending 9 months with a master coach.
Okay.
And I was fortunate to have the opportunity. I asked for it for one, because there was only 12 master coaches in the business, and you're talking 250,000 colleagues in a business. So
Right.
it was a great opportunity, but it's because I qualified as a corporate coach and personal performance coach that I was like, I'm fully invested in this. This is how it aids back into the business and brings value. And I want to continue to work on that in terms of what I'm being asked to deliver, like in metrics, but then also personally my development as well. And I was always great at stuff like that in the corporate world as personal development people, and I loved it. So that's very natural to me now as well. But I think it's about really, I was just centered on like 6 qualities that I would work on as a leader with this master coach, that the measure for me with when I've, like working on them would have been other people seeing those traits in me. So one of the biggest ones was empathy. I remember getting some feedback at the times that I could be more empathetic. So I was like, okay, I need to work on that. So I got the feedback.
Okay. Fine.
Yeah, like I am. No, but look, it was a reality. People saw that and I was like, okay, I need to work through that. So we spent a lot of time looking at certain qualities that I wanted to possess as a leader, but others would say she's this, she's that as my measure of, yes, I've worked on it and I demonstrate that and I live and breathe it in my behaviour, because I think that's important. So, I think that it's important we do the work with ourselves a lot. And then we had the ability to often help others because we've been through that experience more. We often want to help people
100%.
through their struggles and pains, which
100%.
is what we do the whole time, because we've felt that, and we can that's what brings people, like you know, people say stuff in their wording like, I've been there, and it's like, don't say stuff unless you genuinely have been there, and you can help someone on that, because it will catch you out at some point if you genuinely cannot put yourself in someone else's shoes and try your best. It's not always easy when they say like, oh, I understand. It's like, lots of people don't understand. It's like, okay, like just share that with me. I'm trying my best to understand things as well. Or it's just,
it's interesting you say that. So years ago, probably about 10 years ago, I didn't think I had a story. Okay. So what does that mean? What does that mean? So the personal development world, and now even the corporate world, because personal development's moving into corporate quite a lot. There's that story of rags to riches, or feeling really down and then coming back up and everything else. And I didn't have a story. I was blessed with a family who, had a very comfortable life, and I'd never struggled. My corporate life came to me very, very easily. I mean, I hit 6 figures at the age of 26. And so I hadn't multiple 6 figures at the age of 26. Like, I didn't struggle. I didn't need to get promoted. I was a contractor. I got calls every day to take jobs. Like, life was brilliant. So I didn't have a story. And I feel, when I think about it, that I almost manifested the downfall of, or I don't want to call it a downfall, but, a metamorphosis, should I say, of life, because I didn't have a story. However, I will say this, that since going through my journey where I lost everything financially because I would not lean into my healing and intuitive gifts. So I literally did lose everything. I'm more compassionate.
Yeah.
I'm definitely more wise. I mean, I was always wise, and this is not me being big-headed, but God, it oozes and stuff, and I can feel it, and my clients feel it.
Yeah.
And friends feel it as well. And it's something bigger than me. It's not, I'm not going to say it's me. It's nothing that I do. It definitely has come with the experience of knowing what it's like to have lost, knowing what it's like to have your back against the wall, knowing what it's like to be scared, knowing what it's like to be able to manifest something out of nothing.
Yeah.
And creating powerful relationships. None of that existed before, but I had to go through that experience to be able to bring that forthright and stuff. And it may sound very soft. We talk about nice to haves.
Yeah.
You know, I think a lot of people find falling in love with your life a nice to have initially until their back's against the wall, and then they realize that, oh, actually, no, it isn't a nice to have, it's a must have.
But that's the same with purpose, right? I think
100%.
like I remember my dad saying a while ago that, and my dad's always a very strong mentor in my life, but that like you want to enjoy your days. Like why? Well, I feel sometimes people like we have to apologize for, like we said like the other day, like having fun at work or having a laugh.
Yeah.
Or that you should apologize because you love your job and what you do.
Yeah.
And I think that I kind of look and think like, why do we make it that way?
I'll tell you why. It's because we live in a place of lack. So we live in a place of what we don't have. And that's one of the reasons why when we're naming the podcast, I was like, we need to have laughter in there. We need to have love in there. Like,
but love's such a strong word and undercurrent for so many things and so many people.
I know. So we had another word in there initially. And I was sat and I was like, we don't have love. We need to have love in there. Like for me, it's so grounding and gives you so much certainty. I absolutely adore it. And yeah, laughter is so important. But it's what I find when you tell people that they need to go out there and sell or go out there and find a purpose or manifest a life that they'd love or grow or anything that involves having more, the fun stops automatically and they get really serious. And I'm like, do you realize how much laughter can relax your energy centers and just open up so that you can receive so much more? Like, you don't realize the impact of laughter. That's why there's like laughter teachers these days. Like, you have laughing yoga and people think it's a joke, and it's like, no, it makes you feel better.
There was always a poem on some of the places I used to work on. You see it on the back of the toilets most of the time, but it was about smiling and how contagious it is, and it spreads like the flu. It's a poem around that, and it is so true. And it's just like, and I sometimes, because I'll do weird things around Tom, I will deliberately I'll laugh or smile at somebody in the street or something because it's very uncomfortable for them. It's very hard not to smile back or mirror their behaviours and things, and like that, it's like what you attract what you are, right? I'm a massive believer in that.
100%.
And you do, and I think that, you know, I often say sometimes on socials, like, I'm not the person to come to if you're a negative Nelly, or you want to be miserable, or you want to throw people under the bus, or you want to make yourself feel good in that way. Like, I'm just not the person to be around.
Oh God, that's a whole nother podcast. It's like you just said it. I'm like, oh God, that's the whole nother podcast there.
But I like the positivity of people, and you do attract what you are, and that's a huge thing. And that's the same with like love, everything, and smiling, how you feel, and.
So that's interesting that you say that, and I completely agree with it. So does that mean then that when people are not selling, and we've all had elements in our business where things are slow, and then we've had times when things are buoyant. So does that mean that when we're not selling or when we're not getting what we truly want, is that a reflection of ourselves, would you say? Because we're attracting who we are.
Yeah, I think we need to be more conscious.
Yeah.
I don't think people are conscious enough in what they're doing. I think a lot of people live life on autopilot.
I do. And I'm probably the most intuitive person I know. Yeah. And I still get caught up in that.
Yeah. And I think there's a thing that I don't like that. I didn't like that side of corporate where it would conform to certain. I have a big thing right now. It's a balance. Is it rebel? Is it conformity? Like I just said about the dry January thing. Like I don't want to conform to what I think is others' expectations. And that was a big thing when I left the corporate world. I was, 35, 36. I remember having a conversation with my line manager and just saying, what you expect for me is not what I expect for myself, and what you want for my life isn't what I want. Yeah. That's where we're smashing against like that. Yeah. So it's just not working for me. And I said that, I remember that conversation like this, and I says, this isn't fun. I was like, I don't enjoy this. I said, most of the people who are my peers just want to work out to get their retirement, get their pensions, and enjoy life. Fair play. I've got another 30 years of work. I said, I don't enjoy this at all. I said, I don't want to come to work feeling like that. And I said, and it's a hard slog. And I said, that life I don't want for myself. So it's I've gone off a tangent with your question there, but it's there's a bit around conformity with certain things and meeting others' expectations.
Yeah. See, and some people would call that freedom of some sort as well. Sort of like the freedom of not having to conform. So sort of like being able to live life on your terms and stuff, and just, you know, because I know for sure that freedom is my number one value. And I sit down sometimes and I think maybe I've taken freedom to a whole different level.
But what does that mean to you? It's such a, like, again, we can go down a rabbit hole with here again, like what things mean to you and freedom again. But I did work on that last year because of, you know, I really couldn't balance time versus money. Well, coming from the corporate world, you work hard, you get this money wise and that, and then it doesn't work the same when you're in business. So it's that it wasn't just freedom. It's financial freedom when I really pin it. But then there's a lifestyle freedom for me. I had to really break down that word freedom because I just used to see everybody use it around, and it's like I really need to work on what that means to me more. Yeah, because it's too loose. And like financial freedom, I need certain stability. What does that physically look like? I need this. Yeah. And then again, the lifestyle freedom is like, again, I'm very big on values that, like, and things we have is, it's not we're working towards it. We have it right now. We choose to see it that way. I have the freedom, the lifestyle freedom right now by having my own business and not being in a corporate world where others expect things.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I love that.
Yeah. And if you, I think, because I remember when we had this conversation, because I think you were writing something, or I think you were doing a talk, and we had a talk.
It was
about
risk and freedom.
Yeah, and I said to you that freedom, I break it down into different bits, so it's not. Do you remember that?
I used it.
Yeah. And I said, you know, it's emotional, financial, and so much more. But for me, I feel like because I've never had to hold myself accountable to anybody. and sometimes it can go the other way, and to me it's gone the other way, where sometimes you almost have no structure. So I've had to rein myself back in and go, we're going to narrow that freedom down, and you're going to have more structure, and you're going to know what you're doing every day and stuff. And
why do you need the structure?
Because otherwise the day just runs away with you. So you're an expert at time blocking, right? And so it's like, if you don't have that structure, then you lose it. So it's like you write down and go, right, I'm going to do that at that time. I'm going to do that at that. Otherwise, my day just runs away with me. So it's...
I am, though, like, and it's made people laugh when I spoke about this once. I said, and what I'm going to share with you now, that it's good having structure. It's good to be disciplined. I can be another level of that. And I don't have any spontaneity. Yeah. I remember once saying to one of my PTs, he was like, you need to do stuff that's spontaneous. And I was like, okay. So I went and worked on it. He came back and said, what did you do? And I was like, I got the earlier train. Is that it? And I said it to one of my mentors. She was like, I thought you were going to say, like, you flew to LA. And I was like, no, I got the earlier train. So, like, that again, like, again, all or nothing behaviours coming through.
Yeah. I used to be very spontaneous. Since I've had this business, not so much. But I think I still am sometimes. Like, if you say to me, like, we've just received an invite to go to Manchester and stuff, it's like, if I really wanted to, I'd very easily just get in the car and drive to Manchester for it. Like, I wouldn't think anything of it, so to speak, and stuff. So I can be, but I used to be that person where I'd be talking to someone like this, and then the next day they'd see me in Portugal on Facebook, and I'd be like, I didn't know you were traveling. I was like, neither did I. Like, I used to be that person. And I was saying to my brother-in-law over the weekend, I was like, do you know what? I said, before I had a business, I used to just get in the car and drive. Yeah. And he'd be like, before you had a business? I was like, yeah. I mean, I know there's all the whole remote stuff now and everything else, so you can do a lot of things remotely, but we have deliverables sometimes that sometimes just need a bit of stability to actually get stuff done. But I do love a bit of spontaneity. I just love that life, and I can feel it revving back up again.
I think it used to be easier to do that in a world where I worked
pre-pandemic
with people. Yeah, but also that we always were told as such, and rightly so, that, like, it's your own business, treat it as that. But you also had a little bit of leeway where you were like, I'm still going to get paid. Yeah, very much so. Yeah. Whereas when you have your own business, you don't, that pressure's not that pressure's different.
Well, I only had one job for about 9 months where I was permanent. So 15 years I was a contractor. So I had to work to get paid anyway. But again, and I had that knack of connecting to people and creating such powerful relationships that normal rules just didn't apply to me. So I would
Yeah, that's interesting.
so I would go away and work away and stuff. Like my brother said to me recently, he said, remote working is now a thing, but you invented remote working before it was ever a thing. I'm like, oh yeah, I forgot that. Like,
but as we said about the relationship stuff, and we said previously, like that builds trust more, because
it does.
I do remember having certain different relationships with some of my team where I built more trust with them, and I got more out of them in the right way, because they wanted to do it for you, not the business as well.
Yeah.
And that was important to do.
Do you know what? The whole trust thing, it comes from, and this is what I say about to leaders. So I write, and I know you do it as well. We both write on LinkedIn, and I say, before you're a leader, you're a human being.
Yeah.
And somehow that seems to disintegrate. The humanity seems to disintegrate as soon as people walk into a corporate space. Majority of the time, all of a sudden, you're a number. You've got KPIs, and the humanity goes. Now, I know that there's a lot of companies out there who try to have socials and cake days and everything else, and I get that, but there's still an element where it's almost like that blanket cover of you're not using your heart to think, you're using your head. And I'm a strong believer that in your head you're dead. In your heart, you're smart. Like when you can connect to somebody heart to heart, and there are exercises to do this with, when you can really connect to someone, that person feels seen, heard, and valued. And that goes so much further than any set of data you can ever create. And I'm so passionate about it because I've probably worked for more organizations than anybody I know. I was a temp as a student at uni, so I don't even know how many companies I worked for then. And then I've worked as a contractor. I've gone to towns recently where I go, I'm sure I've been here before, and I have to. It takes me a while to go, I think I used to work down the road because I've worked.
You did it in Manchester.
Yeah, exactly. I've done so many. Even today, I was listening to a recording of mine, and I was saying, they've closed the team down. I'm like, what company is that? And I couldn't, I could kind of gauge it. I was looking at the date. I was like, what company did you work for at that time, Vic? What was going on at that time? My point is, freedom, yes, it requires trust, but it's freedom on both ways as well, to be able to come into work and have fun, like you say, to be able to have a laugh and stuff. Like, you get people who are emotional vampires, and it's not a bad thing. It doesn't mean that they're bad people. It just means that they've not done the work, or are not aware of the work that can be done to get them to a place where they're not in that case. So when I say emotional vampire, so somebody who, if they're in a bad mood, then everybody's sort of like pussy,
eggshells.
walking on eggshells. And then if they're happy, then everybody's happy.
Yeah,
and it's
horrible.
It's awful. It's really awful.
There was a manager I used to have years ago, and you drive in a car park, I see his car, like, it set the tone for my whole day. And the irony was, I just used to switch off to that emotionally, because he would be the type of go on and on and on. The other leader who I had which was his line manager, would then turn around and say something like, disappointed. And I had it once, and I was like, that was it. It's like my dad saying it, your parents saying, I'm disappointed. I was like, I'm never having that again. And like, that hit hard. He didn't need the whole going on, give me a go, why isn't this right? I didn't need that. It didn't need to be said. It was felt. And I didn't want, because I didn't want to do it just for the business, I was doing it for that person, because I genuinely wanted the best for them as well. And that's the art in building great relationships with people, is building the communication, building the trust. Again, getting that sense of what's not being said, I think, is massive in communication with teams and people.
Yeah.
And I think people are so driven by the bottom line in business.
100%.
And I think they're so driven by what sounds good without going on whole D&I thing and everything. And
yes,
I think it's what looks good in a business. We've got this and that. And I was part of, it's interesting actually, I was listening to a podcast this afternoon. It wasn't around, it was the word victims, one that I don't tend to ever use with people, but it was used in a podcast because emotionally for people it brings up different things. But I think that in business lots of people with relationships say, I've completely lost my train of thought to be fair on this one.
I'm listening.
It's when what was I saying about this before?
You were talking about people who. Oh, I've missed your point now. I forgot what you were saying. I was listening to you so tentatively as I was like, yep, you're getting to a point. Where were you going?
Because my brain thinks faster than I work.
Brain thinks faster. Well, let's park that. It'll come back.
It will. We will, because it's important as well. We do that because I think again, like we shut down things, but it's the process of sometimes we're thinking through things. Yeah,
because our brains, and the thing is though, it's like it's been scientifically. I probably get this wrong, but it's been scientifically proven that we process about
60 to 70,000 thoughts a day.
Billion bits a day.
Right.
And return about 20,000.
And 80% of those are negative.
It's ridiculous and stuff. So, there's a lot. We're almost the equivalent of a phone.
Yeah.
That's about to crash and stuff. So, it's normal that we will get moments where we go, oh my God, I can't remember this and I can't remember that. And here's another thing as well. As a woman who's in her 50s, I can't believe I'm saying that. I'm in my 50s, but also as a woman who's perimenopausal and stuff, it's quite normal for me to forget stuff anyway. Yeah. And stuff, it's like, it's like literally, I have to stop. I just stop and I'm quiet.
I think mine's a big focus thing actually. And I was saying it with my mum a bit. She was like, I forget stuff. I was like, I think that's just loads of people right now. I think that's demands on us and we've got to be doing 100,000 things at one time. I said it's not necessarily about, I think it's easy to have a go at yourself for it. And
I don't think there's any need to have a go at yourself. I think it's just stop and
it doesn't mean it's like there's no normal anyway, but it's it's important to, I think my biggest challenge is slowing down. I think the part where we're talking about relationships is that fundamentally all of this is about you've got to have a very good relationship with yourself.
100%.
And that's where everything starts. And I'm always talking a lot around self-awareness with lots of things. I think I've realised as well, last year we talked about gifts and things. I've been told it by mentors and I know it now myself, but I have a very strong high self-awareness. And I used to feel like, it's a bit cocky saying that, but it's like, no, I do. I'm very self-aware. Not on everything, but most things I am now. And that's important that you ask yourself what you want and what you need with these things as well. And like, when somebody says like, what do you need right now? Sometimes I'll ask that when I'm with people, it's like, what is it you really need? And like, it's important we give ourselves the space to do that and the time to do that. Yeah. And I think a lot of leaders are very driven by the bottom line, as we said, and next thing, got to do this, they've got their head spinning.
They're trained to think that though a lot of the time. Like,
but like you said, they're still human beings.
But they're trained, like it's a conditioning, right? Yeah. So here's the thing, it's like at the end of the day, I'm a human being. I go into a workplace and I get told you need to do this job and this is what we need to see. So and if you think about it, most people run from a place of fear, like if I don't do it I'll lose my job.
Yeah.
So you're conditioned into that person, and when you get home you can't switch off. You're still...
Yeah, I remember one manager once said to me, because I said, I'm different. He goes, you're not two different people. I was like, I am. And he was like, you're not. And it's like, I'm not. It's I think what I used to see was I had very strong boundaries of work and personal.
Right.
And the two never came together.
Right, okay.
I was very big on that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, listen, I've had... in my younger days and in corporate, even now, I think I do mix the both. Like there's
I'm not going to lie, like I did mix on some occasions.
There you go. Yeah. But I think I'm just so, for me, I'm very this is me. So I don't think I know how to separate like if you fall into it, but
that's the thing, you can't. That's what we're saying, right? You can't naturally easily just separate them.
No, you can't separate them. However, if you come into my personal life, then it's because the relationship's more powerful.
Sure.
You just don't fall into it just because it's easy to do. Does that make sense? See, for me, you talk about awareness. For me, and somebody said this the other day, actually, they sent me a message and said, you're the most aligned person I know. And I was like, that's really sweet. And so, because I know why I'm here on this earth, and I know it shines through, and as a result, the more I embody that, the more certain I am about what I will accept and what I won't accept, and also what I'm being told. So I'm not easily swayed, if that makes sense and stuff. It's like I can get distracted, but I always come back to, is this working towards the end goal that you have? And if it doesn't, then it falls by the wayside. And it applies to everything. Like, I'm quite strategic and quite ruthless about that in every single element of my life. And also, here's the thing, energetically as well, if it's not meant for me, it won't align, and it will cause so much distress in my life that I have to get rid of it anyway.
How do you know?
We've thrown the word intuition around quite a lot, but it's just that knowing. It's just that knowing. It's the knowing that you have when you know that something's right and something's not. You know, it either
that
feels...
goes back to trusting yourself as well, doesn't it? Like, you've got to trust yourself.
It's beyond trust, though.
You made.
Yeah, it's beyond trust.
What is it?
It's a knowing. It's way beyond trust. You see, to me, trust is something that's almost logical and stuff, and it's like, this is way beyond. It's like, it's a deep knowing. It's like, so a good example, and it's probably going to seem really silly, but from a business perspective, I have been posting on Instagram for years, and for the last 2 years I've had so many problems with it. It's been a nightmare. And then I sat down one day and I just let myself be quiet, and that comes from meditating quite a lot, which I do, and I'm really just being in tune with myself. And this voice just went, who are the people that you work with? And I went, corporates. And it's like, well, where are the corporates? LinkedIn. So what the hell are you doing? Wasting your time trying to sort out Instagram? I was like, okay. And it just plays up to the point where you have to pay attention to it. And here's the thing, your discomfort is two things. It's definitely growth.
Yeah.
And it's definitely a message.
Yeah.
And you need to be able to tune into it. Unfortunately, we've been conditioned not to stop. So we have radios, we have phones, we have TVs. Like, there's always something going on where you're being conditioned to not stop. So you can't check in with yourself. You can't gain the powerful awareness that you really need in your life, because everything's just moving. So the secret to manipulate that, if you want to call it that, is to stop anyway, and just give yourself time during the day. Even if it's 5 minutes, just stop. Just stop and just wait and see what comes. And the more you do it, you'll be surprised at how much you can actually transform your life.
It's interesting.
I'm very passionate about it. You can tell, can I, and stuff. It's like, I can talk for ages, but yeah.
So if you're working with people in the corporate world from a personal development and like the business relationship side, what do you think are the 3 things that they really need to focus on or be aware of?
Be aware that you're a human first.
Right. Okay.
It's really take your human back.
Yeah.
Take your human back. Look around you and really look around at relationships that inspire you, and get rid of stuff that doesn't work. Like, really, I did a talk the other day about decluttering, and it's about decluttering your space, your mind, those around you.
Yeah.
We carry so much baggage with us, energetically. We don't even realize it.
Yeah.
Like, people that make you feel crap about yourself, people who don't speak to you the way you deserve to be spoken to, people who don't edify you, people who don't see you. And like anything, if you can't empty that space, then you're creating a blockage for those that will come in and absolutely
I heard that recently.
who would just come in and just make life so much better. Like most of the time, and I know we spoke on the last episode about, you know, relationships ending and it feeling like grieving. But here's the thing, is it's like when you create that space for people to come in that really, really see you and can really help you and stuff, you get rid of the anxiety, you get rid of the stress, you get rid of the lack of self-confidence. Like it's almost like a flower just blossoming again and stuff.
Yeah, it is.
And it's not coincidental and stuff. It's like it's literally all about energy. So those are the three things. It's like, you know, take your human back, look at your relationships and declutter. And then it will give you space to identify whether you're in the right job or not.
Yeah.
Because a lot of people I know more people who don't like their jobs than do like their jobs. And to me, it's like, well, if you don't like your job, rather than leaving first and stuff, do these 3 exercises and then see if it is the job. Because here's the thing, 90% of people that leave a job go to the next job and get the same results. So they're still as miserable.
Just repeating the patterns.
They're just repeating the pattern. 100%. Still repeating the pattern. What would you say? What would be your 3 things based on the work that you do?
I think do the work on yourself first. Really understand who you are. And I think be truthful in that. There's a lot of truths that people need to be asking themselves about, like you said, how happy they are and where they're at. I think I centre a lot around like that I don't want to get to the end of my life and not have had meaning. There's a book by Bronnie Ware, who's a palliative nurse, and she talks to people at the end of their life.
Yes, yeah.
She says about like the 5 regrets of dying.
Yes.
It's an amazing book. But the number 1 regret is that you lived a life not of your the meaning for you.
That's right.
Based on others, essentially. So I think like meaning and that side's really important with the self-awareness. 2, I think like is asking what you want in the relationships from others as well. And what that looks like a bit, especially in then linking to personal relationships. Like, what does that relationship look like? Spend time really thinking about that for a long one. And I think second, like, is understand that you got to work on it. Like, I think, again, people want it always perfect or it's really easy.
They want ready-made.
Yeah, and I think any relationship is challenging, and any relationship will have its highs and lows and ups and downs and everything. It's about the respect you have. And as somebody I've worked with very closely for years in this space more with business, and then like there's a few behavioural things was like it's just not aligned the same way, but actually we've just worked through it, but we gave ourselves some space and time, and then it doesn't need to be about apologising for stuff. It's just like look, that just doesn't work for me. And it was that clarity and communication of that, and I think clarity is key as well with communication.
I think in general people are scared to ask for what they want in relationships, full stop.
I think you're right,
I think whether it's a romantic relationship or whether it's, you know, platonic friendships, people are too scared. It's like that person won't like me or that person will leave me. And then they end up getting into a rut. And you end up getting people who don't like each other. But here's the thing, there's 8 billion people in the world. We're not meant to all like and get on with each other.
No, but you respect. It's always my thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing though. If somebody doesn't respect you, then they can just move across and they can go disrespect somewhere else. Like it doesn't have to be here. Do you know what I mean? And stuff. It's like, and here's the thing as well, right? You're assuming that everybody's been taught how respect, and so here's the thing. In my business, one of my biggest business values is compassion. And the reason why I had that put in was because it's very easy for me and everybody else to judge and stuff. It's like, if you weren't brought up to respect, you'd never heard the word respect. You wouldn't know. You wouldn't know. If you got brought up with parents who didn't respect each other or one didn't respect the other, and you were literally, your motto was survival, respect may not be part of it. So you don't know. So for me, and you never know what triggers somebody's disrespect. Does that make sense? You don't know what triggers somebody's disrespect of you. So to me, it's like you do it once You do it once. The first time I may not say anything because I always say to myself, Vic, leave it. I always have that thing where I go, Vic, leave it. The second time I will say something. The third time you're out, and it's that whole thing. And you may not even be out and not even realize you're out until you try and get in, and then you go, oh, I ain't got a key anymore. You know what I mean? Like I haven't got a key to that person's life anymore. But yeah, it's okay. There's 8 billion people, and I don't need 8 billion friends. I don't need 8 billion people to like me. And actually, if everybody likes you, then you're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
You know,
you don't stand for something.
Well, it's not even just stand. It's just like you don't grow, you don't learn. You know, it's like you need someone to call you on your bullshit. You need someone to call you up and say, do you know what? No, it's okay. And stuff. And it's it's quite interesting. I'm laughing because me and my sister, so there's 6 of us, and me and my sister were having like a massive debate. And I remember ringing my brother and going, she says I think I'm always right, and I can't believe it. And my brother went, you are always right. And I went, point. But you get my point. It's like it's okay.
You're always right.
I'm always right. Yeah, but you know what I mean. It's like it's okay for people to have different opinions from you, and it's okay for people not to like you as long as you like yourself. And here's the thing: you need to learn how to love yourself, no matter what. Like,
and accept yourself.
Yeah, just find. It's like, what is it that's so great about you? And I find that when I ask clients that, they go,
And that's often when I see people being, they're harsh about others or they've got a judgment on others. I often say to people, I said, be mindful though, to me, that says everything about you.
Yeah, 100%.
Not them.
100%.
That's the alarm to me. And I said, naturally, that red flags you with me because I then think, well, what are you saying about me?
Yeah.
And I think that it just is like massive insecurities for them.
See, I never bother what people say about me because I actually don't think anybody talks about me. Like, I just think...
I'm not fussed in that way, but I just think that behaviour to do that, I tend to have a saying a bit more now, like they're just not for me.
Yeah, it's funny that we're talking about this because I was thinking this was going to be another podcast, but it's that saying of hurt people hurt.
Yeah.
Right? And I think we all demonstrate elements of our hurt.
Very true though.
Yeah, but we've all been hurt.
Yeah.
So we'll all demonstrate our hurt in a way. Does that make sense? So then all of a sudden we're not separate from these people that are doing that. Because I remember a teacher once. I remember saying to a teacher once about how everybody else was wrong and they were doing this and and doing that and doing this and how everybody was annoying me.
And you don't think you're always right?
No. And he said to me, he goes, and wearing all of this, do you do the same thing? And I went, what do you mean? And I was like, how dare you? And he's like, it's a valid question though. And it took
Stayed with you.
Yeah, and it took me years to learn that lesson.
Years.
Yeah. It took me years to learn that lesson because
it now.
Yeah, but you know what I mean though? Like when somebody throws it back at you and you're like, no. And he said something, he goes, the reason why that annoys you so much is because you manifest that behavior at another time. You've just not been aware of it. And I was like, how dare you? And then later on I was like, okay, he's right and stuff like, do you know what I mean?
I've had a few of those moments.
You know when you go, oops, but it's very humbling. It brings you back down to earth.
But they're like exactly that. They're the ones you remember. And they're often the ones where I've had conversations with leaders where I remember once I didn't achieve all my goals at work and it was very uncomfortable. And he said, what are you going to do? And I was like, well, I'm not going to put as many goals because then it's not a conversation about the ones I haven't achieved.
I like that.
And then he was like, it'd be a disservice if I didn't tell you this stuff. And I was like, yeah, look, I value that. But it took me a while to really, sometimes those conversations, one was also around fear. And you don't like, fear or failure. You don't like to fail. That was it. And I was like, I don't agree. And sometimes I was cocky. I was like, I don't agree with that conversation. And he said, fine. And it took me long
You are very good at saying that, though. I love that pertinence in you and stuff. Like whenever you say something like that to me, I just watch and go,
when I'm like, I will say something, I'm like, no.
No. Yeah, you're like, no.
I used to get...
Well, you don't say it to me, but you go, somebody said this to me, and I went, no. And I went, all right.
I sometimes do have that decisive... I miss that about sometimes with London stuff. Like, you just had to have quick judgment on things and make decisions quickly. And they come up to you and you hear everything and you'd be like, yeah, and I understand it's not happening. And then people, they hated it.
Yeah. I used to be like that,
explain the
actually. I used to
rationale and the
know.
why and stuff. I
Yeah.
wouldn't be the same now, unless it's like life or death. But, but no. But yeah, it's those conversations I didn't like, and because there was some truth in it, but I didn't want to face into it.
What did you like about leadership before we head off? What did you like about leadership? Because we've talked about different angles, but I want...
Yeah, I think like coaching, it's easy to answer. The biggest thing is the impact you have on somebody to change their life. It's like when you coach and it's like that light bulb moment goes off.
Yeah.
And it's related to something bigger than you and them and everything, and that maybe they hadn't seen. And it opens up their eyes to possibility. I love that, the art of the possible with things. Yeah. And I always liked that of leadership is really leading people in that way of you seeing, belief was a big part. You seeing something in them that they don't quite see yet. Because I had that of people that, like the teacher thing, like the other way. Yeah. I remember I was always that quiet kid at school, and then I got into drama, loved it, and then the teacher was like, "You're really good," and then I got good grades. But I wouldn't have gone for the whole drama degree and everything. I probably wouldn't have been leader if I hadn't have had that person see something in me that I didn't see. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. I do love that. Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? So it's like, I think for me, leadership is such an honor. Yeah. And I don't think we notice it at the time, but I was listening. I've been doing a lot of listening recently. So I was listening to some testimonials, and I was smiling. I just had this smile on my face. And I was watching the facials of these people as they were talking about how I'd helped them and completely transformed their lives. And I was like, wow. And this woman actually came on. I actually posted it on Facebook, and she's like, you know, she goes, it's not just for me, it's what she's done for my family and stuff. Like, it's the knock-on effect that you don't realize, that when you're helping someone, you're not just helping the immediate person, it's everybody else that comes into contact with that person. And it's almost contagious, right? And I think we should see leadership as an honor rather than as a duty. Yeah. And I think the more we embody that, then the more we'll look after ourselves more so that we can do better.
It's like a mic drop moment.
I know. Mic drop. Right. We're done. We are. Over and out. So we're going to say thank you ever so much for listening this time round to our incredible podcast, that we've got so much more that's coming for you. As usual, we ask you to subscribe, like, love, share anybody who you think, do you know what, this could really resonate with them. Anybody who you think, do you know what, they're a leader but they don't know it, or you're a leader and you think, wow, you know what, I want to engage with this. We love receiving your comments, so please reach out, and we will get back to you, I promise, and stuff. It's like Natalie will anyway, because she's a doer. Yeah, she's a doer, so she'll definitely get back to you. But we'll both get back to you. But until next time, we'll speak to you soon. Take care.
Thank you for listening. If you know someone who needs to hear this, please share it with them, and we would love you to subscribe. Remember, the insights shared only have value when you take action.